How to Get Back was a solo exhibition that I had at the Mind Factory Gallery in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. At that point, it was definitely the largest solo show I had, and it ended up being a multi room installation. Here's just a brief run through. As though you were running through the gallery, perhaps you would see it this fast. You might say, oh, to my left, there is a diptych. It was a great opportunity to work bigger. Even with the smaller pieces, I was able to be on a bigger scale with how I presented them. It was challenging, but also like really fun to not just use the gallery to display the work, but to create an environment. I produced some hand painted elements on the walls as well as on the floor. By now, you've probably noticed that a lot of these paintings have words in them. Some of them do have that sort of poetic feel to them. Some of the paintings are a bit more blunt and to the point. A viewer's personal relationship with a phrase can also have a big influence on how they perceive the piece or the meaning of the piece. Some of the language is a little bit sad, some of them are quite funny, and some of them are sad and funny. An idea I kept coming back to throughout the series was that sort of idea of returning, not just getting back to like a place, but getting back to ourselves. This next piece was also one of my favorites in the show. I was thinking about the secretive nature inherent in graffiti crews, and I wanted to look at how that could parallel other aspects of ourselves that we hold secret. Things like mental health. So, kava is a root that some folks make into teas or take as a tincture. It's known to reduce anxiety in some individuals, kind of like chills you out. ERP crew, exposure response prevention therapy. Inositol is another alternative way of treating anxiety. It does require pretty high doses and it's quite expensive. And of course, cognitive behavioral therapy. I am an optimist and I do love that sort of like I'm in the valley now, but I'm going to look up and I'm going to ascend to the top of the mountain again. I think that sort of narrative, it does appeal to me. What I actually hadn't thought too much about, I had a previous show where I did a similar thing with the walls, and a guest asked, "Did you grow up around mountains?" And I thought about it, and I said, "Oh, actually, the town I grew up in, it was surrounded by mountains in the distance." This piece is about identities, but not those that we're choosing or are very apparent. Not like, oh, I'm a doctor or I like to play sports. I'm a sportsman. It's more like things that are perhaps a little bit less surface level, but they still really are a big part of who we are. Maybe we wouldn't necessarily call ourselves these things, but they are ways in which we do exist and engage with others. Some of them, they might be things that we do experience, and we kind of wish that we had better ways of being. Sometimes life can just get us down, and it can have a big influence on how we feel or who we think we are. Did you ever just feel so strong, though? Like so strong that you could just power through anything? Or maybe you end up being all about helping other people get through things, or even just helping them just to be. Sometimes how we are and who we are is less about doing and more about letting something be undone. Our actions can tell people a lot about us, and they can kind of shine a light on how we may be able to relate to each other. There are so many ways that we can lift each other up and support each other. Just being intentional with how we treat ourselves and others is just so important. We all know, life is not easy, and there are going to be circumstances that make us uncomfortable. And, sometimes you can't just get out of that situation immediately, and you do have to just sort of endure. It can be grounding to think about a time that you felt differently. You can say, hey, my state right now that I'm feeling does not have to define me. I can see that something else is coming up, even if I can't feel it right now. There are a lot of times in life where you have to ask that question of, is this something that I should hold on to or let go of? And if I'm going to hold on to it, like how can it change to be better for me and for those around me? It feels kind of strange to talk about how you feel, and to grapple with those things. It seems childish, perhaps. Sometimes we need to process, but sometimes opening up to somebody or letting someone open up to you, it does create that opportunity to change a perspective a little bit, or even just to like change a mood a little bit. I think that's powerful. I think that connection is very powerful. We all come from these different places and we all have these different experiences, and I think that that's something that I like, is the parallels to our stories and the ways that there are overlaps and the ways that we can relate to each other. I think one of the biggest things that we can learn is just to keep on trying, not just for ourselves, but for each other. There is something quite calming and good just thinking about people being there for each other and just thinking about community and this sort of each otherness. I really like that feeling.